Found it. It's not pink, it's purple. Ta-da!
Oh my word. It smells like heaven. It's like...
When I say a cup of tea and a nice slice of cake.
Oh, good grief. And I got these, I've thrown that one on the floor. I'll pick that up later. Build the whole thing. Let's put it all together, and then I want to taste it. I can't say that.
What's the problem with that?
And then as the cloud of icing sugar settles, we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of our coconut cream.
2 halves of cake in either hand, and you just want to go...
Yeah, you do. We're going to let it cool for a little bit, and then we're going to sandwich everything together, and then we're going to eat it. So, you both went, oh, how big of a slice is that?
We're back. Oh yes, it's time for episode 126. My goodness. What a 2 weeks it's been. It's been Kay's birthday.
Yes.
Check. Did you have a nice birthday?
I did. It was lovely, thank you.
The king is dead. Long live the king.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, you may remember in a previous show we have discussed with you our challenges with finding restaurants where we can go and eat. And we found a place which was perfect.
Yeah.
It was. And I say that in the past tense.
Yeah.
Because it was called the Gourmet Burger Kitchen. And it's now gone. First of all, our favourite restaurant went in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And that was the best one because it was...
It was great, yeah. It was in the Metro Centre.
Nicely sort of spacious and really good chef.
Yeah.
And it's just perfect. Really good burgers, really nice beef, really well made. Yeah. Simple. You know,
just really simple and well done.
Not overly complex.
No.
Not, sauces and spices. And why do so many restaurants think that is the way?
I know. Less is more, people.
Also, why is it you struggle to go in anywhere and not order something that isn't really rich, which you regret for the next 6 weeks? We wanted to go out, didn't we, the other week? You said, let's go out.
Yeah, I did.
And we found an Italian.
Yeah, I said let's go out for Sunday lunch just for a change.
And we found this lovely Italian.
Yeah.
And you looked at the menu. Awful.
We don't tend to eat pizzas, do we, because of the breadiness of it. And so I looked at the pastas and
we love pasta.
Yeah, we love pasta. We eat it all the time. But all of the sauces were really creamy, I
wonder if it's a thing that comes with age.
Maybe.
The older you get, does it change when you go into a restaurant? Do you start looking at what you would like to have and start to now have to look at what you only could have?
Yeah.
And, those things, no matter where we go, it always seems to be like 1 or 2 things.
Yeah.
There's like tons of things on a menu.
Because you used to be able to eat anything.
Yes, but
and
then...
you would eat a lot.
But then someone went and took my stomach out and tucked it back in again and everything's changed. We have found an exceptional restaurant. The burgers were really nice.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will take over from Gourmet Burger Kitchen. We're probably going to need another visit to know, but it's called Byron.
So,
but anyway, great birthday. Yeah. I've got to say, it was one of my favourites.
Oh, one of your favourites.
Yes.
That's good. Excellent.
Of course, Swish and Flick.
Yes.
And folks, thank you so much for your excitement and your positivity, and it's just so exciting.
Been amazing.
And so it's just wonderfully rewarding for Kay that after 6 months hard work, you guys have really got excited and you're really into.
It's been brilliant, and so many people have been knitting their Choose Your House socks, and a lot of people have been making up their own house colours, which has been great. I saw a brilliant pair that were like pink and a sort of purpley aubergine colour. They were fantastic. That should be an absolute house.
And your positivity and excitement around this has spurred on our creativity and future plans.
Yes.
And that's all we'll say about that.
Yeah. But more surprises.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. But, folks, it's a big day today because, pattern number 1.
Pattern number 1 came out today.
So that means...
I'm going to show you.
Oh, So do not miss what's off your needles. And how wonderful for Kay that after 6 months of, intense knitting,
I can show
now suddenly she's got all these what's off your needles.
It is really weird because this
We're going to need to change it. What was off your needles 5 months ago?
Yeah, I know. Well, this first design I finished back in January, I think.
So that's right. What was it?
So it's really strange, I've been sat looking at it for the past almost 5 months. So it feels like I did it ages ago. But of course, you could well have seen it now because it came out today. So you might have already seen it on Ravelry. Yes, I will show you the Burrow Wrap.
Woohoo!
In What's Off Your Needles.
So do not miss that. But I have been openly sceptical recently. I think on our quest for the perfect slice of cake, I think that's where I was openly sceptical about this, about Victoria Sponge.
Oh, yeah.
I find it a little bit boring.
A bit boring, you say, yeah.
Well, Kay has transformed it.
We've taken Victoria Sponge to another level.
I had a slice of this.
This was shocking.
Last night, and I put it on my plate. And as I put it on my plate, I actually started laughing. And I thought, I need to compose myself, and I'll go put it over on the table because I'm sitting down for some pudding after having tea, and I'll just see the girls' reaction. It was like a comedy.
Me and Bryony both went, oh, how big of a slice is that?
It was ginormous.
And Dan's reaction was, look, I've left 2 pieces for tomorrow for us, so it's fine.
Yes. There's still loads
and
left.
he just wolfed it down in about a minute.
This is the first type of one of these that she's ever done on Pudding Club. And what Kay has done is she has introduced me to... it's so fun that we're doing our quest for the perfect slice of cake. That is where we go out and we buy it somewhere else, because at home, I think we've just found it.
I think anything you make at home, I do kind of think it's always better than anything you could buy. Yeah. I've never experienced anything, whether I've made it or whether someone else has made it, and it's been a homemade thing.
Here's hoping in the rest of our quest for the perfect slice of cake that we will find some really good cake. And
I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because it's not as fresh. That might be one of the things. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because it's more mass produced. Maybe sometimes they've been frozen.
Yeah.
If it's a sponge cake, that's a possibility.
You, ladies and gentlemen, are in store for an absolute treat. And I will just let you in on the title of said episode, just in case there are people who don't know what this reference is. Now, do you know what I'm talking about when I say a cup of tea and a nice slice of cake? Let me tell you.
Anybody of a certain age.
It will fill you with terror.
Terror.
I am not about to remove my head.
And put on another one. Does that give you another hint, maybe? Aunt Sally, nice cup of tea and a slice of cake.
Oh my goodness, Wurzel Gummidge.
Wurzel Gummidge, terrifying as a youngish child watching
just the opening.
I know.
With him in the field.
You put W and
crumbs.
Oh, it's John Pertwee.
Yes,
wasn't it?
Excellent.
Una Stubbs.
Excellent.
Brilliant programme. It was a brilliant programme, but he had lots of heads. He was a scarecrow.
It should have been an 18.
Wurzel Gummidge was a scarecrow that came to life.
It should have been on at 10 o'clock at night.
I know.
And a certificate 18.
Aunt Sally was one of those wooden dolls that people used to throw balls at and knock off.
Right.
Wasn't she?
I can't remember.
I think so.
I've tried to blot this whole experience
and
from
so
my
she
mind.
came to life as well. And him taking his head off and putting on his posh head and things like that. Oh my word.
But
absolutely terrifying.
The one thing we can all get on board with is what Wurzel Gummidge loved, and that is a cup of tea and a nice slice of cake.
He did.
So tune in later in the show and we will be introducing you to the greatest slice of cake you will ever have eaten. Now, Kay spoke just a moment ago about walking. And we will not dwell long on this because we do talk a little bit about this sometimes, but something happened recently and it was wonderful for me to see you experience this. And that was that 2 days where you had 2 days off.
I did. Generally I will have 1 day off during the week for whatever reason, not on purpose, just we'll be busy doing something or whatever. But on this particular week, it rained and rained and rained, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it was really horrible rain.
Yeah.
That soaked you through, and I just thought, I don't really feel like going out in that. So I think I actually missed 3 days on the trot.
Right. And what happened?
I just felt terrible. Not depressed, but it just really affected my mood. I really noticed a difference. And I didn't make the connection at first at all. I just thought, oh gosh, anxiety is one of those things that comes and goes, isn't it? And you can have bad times and good times. And I just thought, maybe it's just one of those times. And then it suddenly dawned on me that I hadn't walked for those kind of 3 days. And I said to you, didn't I? I think that's what it is. So I just went, the next day, it was raining again. And I just thought, do you know what? I've just got to ignore it and just go out. And I did. It had a huge effect. It took probably a couple of days for me to get back what I felt I'd lost.
There was a utterly transformative effect immediately from the outside.
Yeah,
you went for that walk, you came back, and it was like a different person.
Yeah, I feel much more positive. And Dan always says to me, if I happen to wake up and I'm feeling a bit, for whatever reason, he said, you'll feel better after you walk. And I'm like, no, I won't like this. And I always do.
I've never run with anybody else. I've never exercised with anyone else, so I've only got my own experiences to go on. And I learned when I first started walking exactly what Kay learned, that I just had to go.
Yeah.
And you think perhaps it's just me, but then to realise that it's not, and to realise, and also as well that sort of that shared experience and the shared knowledge that knowing that just going and doing it.
And I've tried walking before and just never kept it up, but this time I think the thing that really has kept me going is being able to track it. And that's really made a huge difference because I can see what I'm doing and I really like that. We looked at my stats kind of the other day and this year, from the beginning of this year, it said I'd burnt off, I think, just over 16,000 calories. And I said to you, that's probably nothing. To somebody who runs on a daily basis, that's probably nothing. So I was kind of doing myself down.
But what did I say back immediately?
Well, you said, that's 16,000 calories that are not on you.
That's 16,000 calories you wouldn't have burnt.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, that's however many hours of time in the fresh air.
50 odd hours, I think.
That's 50 hours of personal time which you've taken, which has enabled you. I mean, I find myself, when I run, I find myself working through all sorts of rubbish in my head.
I think I do subconsciously. I always listen to a book, and I really love listening to books. I think having a book to listen to just gives your mind something to focus on for that 45 minutes. Yeah. And I'm kind of not thinking about anything else, which is what my brain needs.
What it does is it enables you to shut off from the outside world. Yeah. I can't run in silence because it just my mind goes to a very dark place.
I couldn't walk in silence either.
That's 50 hours of book consumption, which has enriched your brain.
I wouldn't have had. And okay, I've been listening to stuff that I've listened to
Doesn't
before,
matter.
but I don't think that matters.
It's like, I think it's similar to the first time I picked up knitting needles and started knitting. It's that relaxation of the brain, which is just phenomenal.
And I had a message from a lady the other day who she's in the pyramid run and walk, and she was doing it previous to that. And she sent me a Ravelry message, and within the message she said that she'd now walked consecutively every day. You'll have to forgive me, it was either 497 or 597 days, I can't remember which, but she hadn't missed a day. That's just amazing. That's well over a year, isn't it? Yeah. Well over a year. And she said that, again, it had just transformed her life.
The sort of crux to the whole reason why we've spoken about all this is I could not recommend to you more, even if it's just walking to the end of your drive, even if it's just sitting outside for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get in the car and drive anywhere to walk. I just go out the front door and walk.
The effect...
Just walk around the streets, it doesn't matter where you walk.
All you need to do is, for me, I think it was maybe after I'd done it for about 6 weeks. That's when I got the sort of bug and I was into it. You've just sort of got to push through, make it routine, and the effect it will have on you is just, it's insane.
Absolutely.
It's just been amazing.
And I used to always say, I don't have time, and I think that's a lot of people's
You have to make the time.
Reasoning. And everybody, you do have time. You've just got to sacrifice something else maybe for it.
Everyone has time for the things which are important to them.
Yeah, if you want to do it,
make it important for yourself.
You'll make time for it. And
it's having just insane effects on you in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And it's it's so wonderful to see. The Great Pyramid Walk and Run is still ongoing, so come and join a team. Yeah. Oh yes.
I will just tell you what I'm wearing, because I am wearing a knitted item which is rare, because I usually get
It was a birthday present.
It was a birthday present from a lovely friend. Aww. And I think she said it was called Mini Mania. Was the pattern name, and she thought the colours would be really nice for me, the beachy sort of colours, and I think it's lovely. It's like I'm not going to take it off because I've got it arranged. You know what it's like when you have that shawl arranged. I don't want to fuss with it, but it's like an asymmetrical shape, just knit with mini skeins. I think it's lovely.
Beautiful. So, we need to find out, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Right. First thing I've got is, do you remember a little while ago?
You put this on and it looked brilliant.
I'm not going to do it. A little while ago I started another scarf for Bryony, can you remember? And I was using the Starry Night yarn, and then I added like a contrast panel at the bottom just to stretch out the yarn a bit, because I wouldn't have had enough. Well, I knit quite a big chunk on that, and then I suddenly came to the realisation of 2 things. One, I thought it was too wide for Bryony. I didn't think she would enjoy it being that wide, bearing in mind what our other scarf is like that I knit her. And also I wasn't going to have enough yarn because I was knitting it quite wide, and I'd have to probably order at least 1, maybe 2 more skeins. Now that was going to make it probably about £100 scarf, and I just thought that's ridiculous. So I ripped it out. I've left in place the end bit just so I could show you how wide this was knitting up. And also the other thing was, this yarn, the first yarn that I used, this is a Biff Sugar yarn that was holding double. I'm holding it double. This was wider, it was quite a bit wider. It's obviously a much plumper yarn. This has got cashmere in it, and I know from when I was dyeing that this base is much plumper than the BFL, which is what I'm using for the rest of it. So this bit was wide, and then it went in like that, and I guess I could have blocked it, but I think it would just pop back, because this was just so much bigger, more bigger.
Yes, excellent. It's more bigger.
A bigger gauge than the other yarn. So I thought, right, I ripped it back because I'm re-knitting, the yarn that I've already knit, and I thought I'll keep this bit. And I put this on my head just for a laugh, and I looked like one of those people in an ice cream shop.
You did.
So that's how wide it was. What is that? I don't know. It's got to be 8 inches, maybe a bit more. So, and this was 90 stitches. I cast on 90 stitches, and the reason I cast on that many is that I initially wanted to knit it on a hat circular, a short circular needle, because that's so easy, isn't it, and so nice to knit in the round like that. So that's why I used that many stitches, because the previous one, the Hufflepuff one that I knit for her, I think I only used about 50 stitches from memory, so it was a lot more than that one. I came to that realisation. I thought, right, no, let's just rip it out and start again. So I thought, right, I can't knit it on a hat circular, there's just not going to be enough stitches. Didn't want to knit it magic loop, because apart from socks, I don't like knitting magic loop on thicker yarn, because I find the cables are much thicker. They seem much thicker, because I use the Chowgoo mini twists for knitting socks, and that's just such a fantastic cable. To knit a bigger gauge on it, I just find it all too
unwieldy.
Unwieldy, yeah. So I thought, right, okay, let's do it DPNs. Let's just, go back to basics, and let's do it on DPNs. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm really enjoying it. So this is now where I'm up to, and you can see the difference. So if I hold this in front of this,
wow,
you can see how much.
That's an enormous difference.
It's a huge difference, yeah. So I cast
That
on.
was too wide.
It was way too wide for Bryony.
Yeah.
Because she just wears.
It's pretty though.
Yeah, she just wears scarves just sort of round her neck. She doesn't double them or anything like that. It's more of a kind of.
It's an image choice.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So that's how much bigger that is, and that's hugely bigger, isn't it? So, like I said, 60 stitches is what I cast on this time, and I went for 60 because I thought that's an even number. I can have 15 stitches on each of my double points, and that should just be really nice, and it is really nice. So I'm using 5.5mm needles.
And didn't I knit with those?
No, you did for a minute because I had to tink something back for you one night.
It's
so
more
I gave
than a minute.
you this.
I did a round and a half.
So I gave you this. I said, just knit on that for me for a bit while I
Did you notice like a gauge
fix
issue?
your mistake.
Oh,
No,
for a round and a half, was it
no,
okay?
because the other thing at the moment, I'm now into virgin yarn, shall we say. I've knit through all of the yarn that I'd previously knit, so it's very wiggly. I don't know if you probably can't tell, you can tell a bit. This section, I've only just up to here, I'd already knit all this yarn. So it's really wiggly, but it'll block out, it'll be fine. But you can see how sort of uneven looking it is.
Yeah, I think it looks textured.
Well, it does at the moment, but it won't. It'll all
But there's
flatten
nothing
out.
wrong with that.
No, but it will all sort itself out.
Of course.
So I'm just going round and round and round. So I'm holding the yarn double. So it's Starry Night. That's the yarn.
It looks even prettier on camera than it does in real life.
Yeah, it does.
And it looks pretty in real life.
They are slightly different, these two skeins. I don't know if you can just notice a slight difference, but holding them double, you don't notice that difference at all. So this is from River Knits. It's a BFL 4-ply, Starry Night, based on the Van Gogh painting, of course. And Bryony loves this so much because her favourite band at the moment, BTS, one of the fellas in BTS really loves the painting Starry Night, so that's why she really liked it. So I wanted her to do her a little BTS inspired scarf, if you like.
But is it me just being sceptical, but why do I have a feeling he said that just so he looks cultured?
Maybe so. Just then, I'd never heard of this band. They're a Korean band. South Korean band.
They're huge.
It's part of the whole K-pop thing.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea what that was either.
I know what that is, Kate.
Bryony educates me on a daily basis. So that's her favourite band at the minute, and that's why she wanted something. When she saw this yarn, she went, oh, so-and-so, I can't remember his name. Her favourite is V, but she says, oh, I'd love a scarf in that. So that's what I'm doing. And the needles I'm using are 5.5mm, and these are just bamboo.
Wow.
These needles were like £2.
Right.
Or £2.19 or something from Wool Warehouse, and I couldn't remember the brand, but I just looked them up this morning. It's from Bobbin Box, which is really cute.
Yeah.
I can't remember why I bought these. I bought a couple of sizes. I was knitting something, and I must have needed DPNs for something, but didn't want to spend a lot. So I picked these up from Wool Warehouse. So I thought, well, do you know what? I'm going to give them a try, and I loved them. £2 needles. They are brilliant.
I found them perfectly acceptable too.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem. And I'll be honest, when I took hold of the project and started knitting, I thought this is going to be tough moving it around.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be too grippy, and they're not actually.
They're not. They were.
Sort of.
They've like polished a little bit because
Yeah.
needles do, don't they? As wooden needles, and metal to a degree, I think, if it's like a brushed metal. But I just thought these are not going to be very pleasant. They're not super pointy. I mean, they're kind of weird because
I didn't have a problem in.
No, I don't have a problem either. They're kind of weird because it's got like
There's a sharp taper
a very
at the top.
sudden point. Let me put it against Dan's t-shirt. Oh, there you go. You can probably see. And I wasn't sure I'd like that, but they're great. There's no splinters at all. I've not had any problems whatsoever. So I'm just going round and round and round. And I think, the way the yarn is knitting up, it's just lovely, isn't it? Look at that.
Stupendos.
Really nice. So it's just a tube. And I will sew the bottoms up at the end, and then I'll put on some tassels. I'm just going to knit until it's either long enough or I've run out of yarn. I'm not sure which of those two will happen first. I've still got, I don't know how much that would be. It's probably, I would guess, about between 60 and 70 grams still to go, and I've knit that much. So maybe this is a third of it. So if I knit that again twice, I do think that will be long enough for her. So just really pleasant sort of bedtime knitting, and I didn't cast this on that long ago, but I'm probably getting through 1 inch or 2 inches every night, so it's growing quite quickly. So I might even have that done for next time, you never know.
It's a sleeve.
It does look like a sleeve, look.
She tried it on yesterday.
Yeah, I did, look. I've knit myself a sleeve.
You just need to go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Well, that'd make a lovely jumper.
Wouldn't it?
Oh, I'm thinking, I'd want to put cables in the body.
Would you?
Now, I know you would say don't do it.
Busy, I don't know.
But
I wouldn't.
I don't know, I could just, well, that's why I'm not a designer.
I don't know if I would, but maybe. But it's just really pleasant. So if you're looking for some double points, get yourself to Wool Warehouse and order a set of these to try them. For £2 or £2.20 or whatever. I think they're brilliant. Dan Jones?
Yes.
What's on your needles?
It's a tube.
Another tube.
We are knitting tubes.
We are knitting tubes today, aren't we?
Now, it is my second sleeve for the clay quat cardigan. Here it is.
Second sleeve.
And I'll be honest. I was very honest on yesterday's return to the centre of the yoke.
You're bored.
Yes, did you hear me when I was
No,
filming?
I didn't hear you. But it's a sleeve.
The episode was entitled, Is This Sleeve Island? And I'm not certain, I don't think I actually got to, within the episode, sort of answer to the question as to where Sleeve Island is. Is Sleeve Island abject boredom? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Right.
It's like you're stuck on an island and can't get off it. That's the point. That's the point
Right.
of it. That's the reference. It's like you can't, you're never going to get off it. You're never going to finish knitting that sleeve. That's what it feels like.
Right.
I'd quite like to be on an island
See,
like
it doesn't.
that.
Yeah, so would I. It doesn't feel like that to me. I don't know. I just feel bored and I want to knit on other stuff. So maybe that's what it is.
But you've done super well. Where's the first one?
Well, what
Give me
I
the
wanted to
first.
tell you is this. Our plan is working to perfection. I've deliberately undershot on the sleeves. Kay tried it on again yesterday, and I think my undershooting is actually nailed it.
Well, I could
I've actually
probably
heard from a few
put
people.
it on a little bit.
I've heard from a few people that they found that the sleeves were a little bit long. And so, this plan of getting a second set of DPNs and casting on a second sleeve and just getting on with that and then leaving enough yarn, add it on the needles to either extend it or tink it back. We're really happy with this approach.
I did stick it on my arm last night.
Fit great.
And it went right up to my underarm. So I think this is long enough.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I would rather have it a smidge shorter at this stage because it is a superwash yarn. So we've got to allow for a little bit of growth.
Yes, absolutely.
And I just don't want it to be I'd rather have it a little bit short than way long.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
It's lovely though, isn't it? I'm sorry to
No, it's fine.
toot my husband's horn here. It's gorgeous.
It is. I
love it.
And that is what is inspiring me to get through it and knit it now, because I'm not as engaged with this as I have been in previous sweaters at this point. And the reason for that is on the Solia there was lace all the way up. On the Samantha there was cables all the way up, and there wasn't really a sleeve on the Irish Coffee, but what there was cables on. So this is the first sort of plain knitting sleeve that I've done, and the conclusion that I've sort of come to is I posed the question.
It's boring.
No. I posed the question on yesterday's return to the centre of the yoke that if you are a knitter that likes challenge, and I've enjoyed knitting the Solia and I've enjoyed knitting the Samantha and all those things, should you discard things like this and only knit things like that? Well, the conclusion I think I've come to is no, you shouldn't, because at the end of the day, if you're knitting something which someone is looking at and constantly saying, when are you going to finish that because I want to wear it, that's a very lovely position to be in. And it's a very inspirational position to be in. That sort of positivity is geeing you on to get it done. And what I do know is the body is going to be massively challenging. It is, because there's loads of colour work.
Is it steeped?
Of course it's steeped. There's loads of colour work, there's steeking, there's fancy business going on with the pockets. You know, the whole thing, the body element of it absolutely rocks. So this is just, this is the calm before the storm.
But you're not far off finish that, and then you've done the sleeves. This is the benefit of doing them first, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You've done them.
I've done all my increases.
So you're knitting straight.
I'm just knitting straight up. So it's perfect. It's perfect.
It's great, and I love this yarn. What's the yarn again? I forget.
Is it Charisma or is it Alaska?
It's not Alaska.
So it's Charisma. Yes.
Gosh, I didn't realise we were using Charisma.
Yes. So
is that? I don't know whether that's the right colour though, because
lovely drops Charisma.
You're not renowned for keeping the right ball bands, but yeah, it's drops Charisma, which is superwash DK. Is this pattern a DK or a worsted?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
You can't look at the pattern because I've manipulated it.
Yeah, I know. I think this yarn, although it's classed as a DK, the drops Charisma, I think it would knit to a worsted weight gauge. What gauge does it give you? 21 stitches by 28 rows with a 4mm needle. So if you went up to a 4.5mm needle, I think you could easily get 20 stitches, which is about a worsted gauge, isn't it? So yeah, and it does say it's superwash, but we find that we can split splice it.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be okay as well with the steeking. It does have it definitely has a bit of grab to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's not like a dead slick superwash.
I mentioned there I've manipulated the pattern. All I did was, because Tinker Knits patterns tend to be extremely full of, sizes.
Yeah.
There's tons of it going on. It's really difficult. I find them really difficult to sort of look at and see where I'm at with it. And we spoke about this on a past episode. So all I did was, amazing how it worked, I just copied straight from the PDF and pasted into notes on an iPad, and it took all the word content straight out. There was no messing around, and then I just deleted all the things I didn't need. So, for about 10 minutes work, I've ended up with a pattern that Kay says looks like it's been printed for a month because the font is quite large. I'm going to get
Can't
through
wait to have it.
that sleeve.
I think it'll be a great thing. I think I'll wear it like a jacket, when I'm out walking and things. I think it'll be brilliant.
Well, however it fits.
Autumn, when you don't need a coat. And
however it fits into your medley of fashion choices.
Oh, yeah, right. That's
then
me.
I will just be thrilled. Okay, Jones, what else is on your lovely needles?
Well, I've got a new design to show you.
That is really exciting.
I know. So this will be a new design at some point. I'm quite a way through it. It's a pair of socks. Now, the inspiration for these socks came when I was walking one morning.
Where? Was it falling leaves?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Not falling, but that
leaves.
You've remembered. It is leaves, but I'll tell you what.
I couldn't remember. I've just looked at the design.
Yeah, but when I tell you, you'll remember me coming home and saying, I don't think I actually told you that day because I just kept this thought in my head and I wrote everything down. So I was walking one morning and it was a few weeks ago, so it was cooler, but it was still a bright day. It was one of those sort of spring mornings when it's bright and it was a bit breezy and it was nice and cool. Oh, it was just lovely. I'd just got on a little fingering weight hat. Perfect. Just a little jacket, and that's my perfect walking weather. Where it's too cold just to go out in like a jumper or a cardigan. You've got to wear a coat, but not a heavy one. And you might need a hat. That's just my perfect temperature. I walk up a little back alley, I suppose it is, isn't it?
Yes.
It's quite steep, and it runs up from the park that we've got near us. It runs up through the back of some houses, and then you come out on quite a main road at the top, don't you, that I can walk back down and go back into the park. So I was walking up this back alley, and it's like a cobbled little alley, and on the left hand side you've got old Victorian houses, haven't you?
Yeah.
That have just got these little back gardens. They didn't really have gardens, Victorian houses, did they?
No, they had parks. The promenade and the parks.
Did. They didn't really do the whole sitting out in the garden thing. So they just had little courtyard gardens at the back that usually had like a coal shed at the back of them. And there would have been an outside toilet as well, I'm sure. But then on the other side of the alley, there's like new houses that are being built. So it's a real contrast, isn't it, between the two? And I love this alleyway. On the left-hand side, again, it's got this red brick wall, really quite high, that borders all of the Victorian houses. And in the wall, it's got the kind of wooden hatches where the coal men used to bring them and put the coal in. So I was just enjoying walking along this little road and looking at these houses. This song came into my head, and I think I was just in that moment where I was just really enjoying what I was doing, and I was completely present in that moment. And that doesn't happen often, does it, in today's day and age, I don't think, because there's so much noise going on around you from whatever, you know. But I was just really enjoying this little part of the walk, and the song came on in my head, and at the same time there were like some old leaves on the floor on these cobbled streets, and the breeze just suddenly whipped them up, and there was this like tumble of leaves, and it was those two things together, this song that was going on in my head and just seeing the leaves just suddenly made me think, oh my goodness, I'd really love to design something just based on this little moment that I'm having. I thought, right, I want to design a pair of socks, and I want the design to be not difficult, but something where you've got to be present in that moment. So do you know how normally sometimes when you're knitting, you can just be knitting and you can be watching something else or doing something else? Knitting time is precious, isn't it? And you've got half an hour and you sit down and you just focused on that one thing and just really enjoying working the stitches. So that was the thought that was in my head. And the song that was playing in my head whilst I was on this particular walk that day was Whitney Houston's One Moment in Time. And it's a beautiful song. She was a beautiful singer. And this song was just going round and round and over in my head. So I thought, well, I've got the title, I've got the name of my pattern there, haven't I? One Moment in Time. Just seemed perfect. So I've designed a pair of socks, and I've finished the first sock and I'm working on the second one. I've literally just cast on the second one. I've just started the cuff, so I'm just about halfway through the cuff. And I'll show you the yarn I'm using first of all. Well, that was the other thing. I was thinking, oh, what yarn could I use? And straight away I thought I'm going to go and have a look in Kelly's shop, Lay Family Yarn, because I wanted something that was really gentle and subtle and still had a lot of interest, but that would show off the design really well. I didn't want anything too busy. And Kelly's yarns are just perfect for that. She's brilliant at doing these kind of subtle, speckled, delicate yarns, just gorgeous. So I went to a shop, saw this particular colourway and thought that's perfect. And the name was great as well. So it's Love Hearts, 75.25. So I bought that, and then a couple of days later it arrived, and by then I'd kind of worked out the pattern. I'd swatched and worked it out, and I was just really pleased, and I was so keen to get going. So I wanted to have this kind of swirling leaves thing going on. So this is what I came up with.
Wow. So
here's the sock. Oh, I really like it. And if you can see the way that the design is, you get this sort of wavy line going down the side here where the two panels are sort of separated. Oh, I just think it's so lovely. And you've got these falling leaves swirling all the way down the sock. I didn't want to detract from the design, so I've just kept that to a simple slip stitch heel and then my umbrella toe. And I've done a 1x1 rib because I felt that fit in more with the design, it flowed more. And I just think I just love it. It's not difficult. I think this, you might look at it and think that looks fairly complicated. It really isn't. And this is what I wanted. I wanted it to be something where, yes, you've got to pay that little bit of attention, but there's no tricky stitches at all. It's just very basic lace stitches. And I just think it's amazing what you can achieve with just those very basic lace stitches. I think it's just lovely. I'll take it off the blocker and just sort of show you the front of the leg, because it does go all the way around. You can sort of, hopefully you can see those swirling leaves running down.
Gosh.
Yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. I love it. So this is one moment in time, and as soon as I get the second sock finished, I'll get it through test knitting, and then I'll be putting the pattern out.
So it shouldn't be too long then, really? It
shouldn't be too long.
No.
No, maybe within the next month, I would have thought.
Exciting.
And the yarn is just beautiful. Can you see how subtle these speckles are? It kind of reminds me of an opal. Do you know where you see lots of really delicate sort of blush pinks and lilacs? It's just gorgeous. So really pleased with those. So I'm going to crack on with the second sock, get them finished, write up the pattern, get it through test knitting, and I'll get that one out as soon as possible.
It looks exactly like, I mean, I totally couldn't remember what you'd said.
Well, no, I
about
talked
the inspiration.
I talked to you about a lot of things, so it's no wonder, really.
She started waffling on to me this morning about some Friends advent calendar thingy or something or other, and I thought she meant Lego Friends. I don't even like Lego Friends.
I told him about this. I treated myself and I pre-ordered from Down Sheepy Lane, from Debbie, her advent calendar for this coming Christmas, and it's based around Friends, the TV show, and it's Bryony's favourite programme, isn't it? So when I saw that, I thought, oh, shall I get that? And I thought, I'm just going to treat myself. So I'll talk about that next time, actually, because I'm planning what I might do with all those minis.
I'm still knitting my sock, and I'm making really fast progress for me on a sock. It's quick, because I can't remember where I was at with this the last time I saw you, but I mean, it's a long way back from this.
Well, since when do I put pressure on him to finish anything?
No. What I'm saying is, I'm moving quick on this.
That's excellent.
Yes.
I'm thrilled for you.
Good. No, be thrilled for you, because they're for you.
I know.
So I'm through the leg, longer leg than I've ever knit on anything.
Are they the same length this time?
They are the same length, because I'm using two separate row counters on one project.
Oh, dearie me.
And I have knit, I don't know why, but I did 61 rows on the first sock.
61? You
Yes.
didn't do 61.
Yes, I did.
That's not 61 there. Do you mean from the top here?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
All right, okay. Well, that's fine.
So you didn't do 60.
Well, it did
It means
61 rows from
the top here to the start of the heel flap. 61? How have you managed 61 when it's a 2-row?
I don't know, but that's what I did.
Right.
But it's fine, because when I pick up...
Didn't you go do Lally, though, on this and do 2 rows that were the same by mistake?
So maybe it's 62.
Well, no, that's what will have thrown it off, won't it, to make it an odd number?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
But you won't have done the same mistake on there, will you?
No, I haven't.
So it might be 1 row different. But I'll let you off with 1 row.
Thank you. You're very kind. So I've partway through, just started on the heel flap last night, and I'm paying close attention to my heel flap, and I'm making sure it's nice and tight.
Oh, good.
I've been giving it a really hard pull.
Let me see. Yeah, it's definitely better than that one. Yeah, it's the turn, it's the heel
Yes,
turn.
I know, but I'm just going to make sure the whole
very
thing...
baggy.
I'm going to make sure the whole thing is really tight, so it stands up on its own, so I can hold it in position and what?
What, you just being sarcastic?
No, I'm not.
now.
Look, see,
you are.
see, look.
No,
It's standing up.
don't appreciate your sarcasm.
It's standing
just trying
up.
to help.
Look, see?
Yes.
It's going to be perfect.
Yes, we'll see.
You're going to be so impressed.
Right.
It will be marvellous.
That's the first one. Lovely.
One of the challenges stop blowing my trumpet. One of the challenges in knitting is, of course, finding the right yarn, needles, and pattern combination. Because if one of those things is wrong, then you're a bit stuck, aren't you? I think the worst thing actually to get wrong probably is the needles, isn't it? Because if you've got great yarn and great...
I think needles make a massive difference to the enjoyment of a project. It can make or break it, I think.
Yeah, because you could have perfect yarn, perfect pattern, and the tool you're using to knit the project is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's so challenging is the wrong word. It's great to have an art form that's that deep, but daunting to engage with it in the first instance for a learner.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm constantly so grateful.
We're very lucky.
For you.
Well, yeah.
I'm very lucky.
Well, no, we're very lucky in general to have all the choices that we've got these days, because
see, the thing
my
is, though,
mum just knit on plain, the grey metal long needles, and that was it. You didn't have any other choice. We're just also lucky to have so much variety and so much choice with our needles these days.
We're absolutely lucky, but then the more choice there is, the harder it becomes to make a decision.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
And on limited budgets,
Yeah.
that's where I'm so grateful that I've got you, really. Because, I can sort of talk to you about specific, or, Kay knows, specific things about how I knit, and that then enables you to then go, well, try these needles.
Yeah.
And, we've not really had too many false starts. I think the only false start we had was when I was doing the sock knitting. And I can't remember did I start on wooden DPNs? I can't remember what it was.
Maybe so, I can't remember.
But I remember we had to stop and change over.
Yeah, because I think because you were knitting so tight, knitting on wooden needles was making it it's really draggy, isn't it? So we switched you to metal, and that was great.
But this is the Thomasina socks from the Miss Potter Sock Club.
Yeah.
And I just love it. It's the nicest sock I've ever knit by a million miles. And that is because of the twisted stitches. I know it's silly, but I feel challenged. Because of the great rib, that's really cool. Because that's like there's something going on in the rib. And ribbing can be so boring to knit. And also it looks so pretty.
It does look pretty, that one, yeah.
But then when you then add this yarn.
The yarn's great.
And do you know what I'm going to do?
What?
After I have knit this sock, I want to, and this sounds nuts, but I'm not going to do very much.
Right.
But I'm going to do a tiny bit of ribbing.
Right.
And a tiny bit of knitting. Because I want to see what this yarn would look like plain knit.
Well, you can there.
You're really funny.
What?
Oh, on the back of the sock?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So I don't need to do that.
No.
I'm such an idiot.
Oh, if you look,
There's the contrast.
Yeah, this is just plain.
I should have just looked at my own sock.
What a fool. This is just plain knitting, and this is the patterned knit. And
That's so cool.
What it does...
Seeing that contrast.
It's subtle, but it's...
Oh my goodness.
It blurs it. It's like you've gone like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, in my case, I've not got my contact lenses in. That's what that would look like without my lenses in. And I just think that's really nice, seeing the contrast is lovely.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
What I love is, and this is really what I wanted to see, and I can't believe I'd not thought to do that. So the yarn...
Anyway, the yarn...
It's gorgeous.
It's one of the Opal Claude Monets. And it is 9684 is the colourway. I think it looks really festive. I think it's lovely. It's a beautiful colourway. It's knitting up so nice.
It is. What else is on your needles?
Oh my goodness. Well, gosh. I honestly thought I'd have this finished this time. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll have that finished. Well, no.
What I did
no.
was I sent a boat from my Sleeve Island, and I picked Kay up.
Oh gosh.
And I brought her.
Don't even. Just I can't bear it.
She's there with me.
I can't bear it.
The abject boredom of the clay quartz sleeves is matched totally by the abject boredom of the knitting of the shift.
Do you know, this is a really tricky one. This is the Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry that I'm knitting.
That looks stunning.
Brilliant. It looks amazing, and I'll show you in a minute because I have knit quite a bit more. The issue that I'm having with it is what I said before. I'm finding it very tedious, might be a bit harsh, but I'm basically working through the same kind of 40 rows again and again and again. I'd like a pattern repeat, but I think because it's such a long pattern repeat, you get through it and then I'm like, oh right, next section. Oh, it's kind of the same as the one I've just done. So I just thought, right, okay, I'm just going to try and plough through this because it is lovely and the colours are lovely and it looks beautiful. I'm just not really enjoying the knitting of it anymore.
It picks up completely on what we were saying a few minutes ago, and that is, do we sometimes as knitters have to suck it up and get through something to get the end product.
Yeah.
That then, though, fits with a product knitter and not a process knitter.
Yeah.
And you have said, I think, in the past that you're a product knitter.
I'm a product knitter.
I don't think you are.
I think, well, I'm more of a product knitter than a process knitter.
But you're referring to this in relation to the process and not the product. Because the product looks great and it'll look great on you, but you're not enjoying the process.
But if you're not a process knitter, then you just want to get it finished, don't you? And you want the finished thing. I don't know, really.
You are not enjoying the process of knitting this.
No, I'll be honest. It's nothing to do with the pattern. I think it's a great pattern.
So perhaps...
It's me, it's personal.
Perhaps in all of us, there is a little bit of both.
Maybe there is.
Because honestly, it's the first time ever I recall you sort of having an issue with...
I can't remember having an issue like this. And a lot of people would say if you're not enjoying it, don't carry on with it, just rip it out.
But then
I could do that. But I've knit so much of it now, and I know I will love the finished thing. And I'm not one of these people that will just cast something on and then think, I'm not going to finish that. I do like to finish something. If I've committed to it, I've cast it on, I've got through a good amount of it, I'm going to finish it. What I'm going to do is just every time I pick this up, I'm just going to work through a section and then I'll put it down and forget about it for a bit and not let it prey on my mind.
If this looked terrible and
Absolutely.
You knew you weren't going to wear it, you'd have ripped it out.
I would have, yeah, but I just think it's beautiful.
It is.
I mean, look how gorgeous that is.
And it raises that whole question again of, as knitters...
It's just lovely. And I think the colours are just perfect. On me, I think the colours are great.
I could not knit a project, even after everything I've said about the clay court and about, the positivity, from you, I could not knit that.
Why?
Because of all the things that you've said. Because I would be so cataclysmically bored.
I don't know that you would. I mean, if I'd been knitting this with 3 plain yarns, and I have seen people knit it with sort of 3 solid yarns, I don't think I would have carried on.
No.
Because the thing that's keeping me going is seeing the changes in the colours.
Yeah.
And all 3 of the yarns I'm using, they're all hand spun, and they've all got lovely texture, and I'm enjoying the yarns, and I love the needles, which is what we said before, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the 2 things that are keeping me going. So I'm using these 3 skeins of hand spun that I've shown you before, and I never would have thought, looking at those 3 skeins, that it would have produced something that looked like that.
No. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, isn't it? It's gorgeous, and I love it, and I can't wait to have it. I think it's just going to be so...
Perhaps you'll appreciate it more because of the pain it's caused.
Absolutely, I will. It'll be very precious because I won't be knitting another one. And I think it's a brilliant pattern. It's brilliantly written. It's very clear. I've got no complaints whatsoever about that. It's just the type of knitter that I am. I need more interest.
Yeah,
because
hold on a minute.
I've done it. I've done that repeat. How many times? 5 times now. I've done it. I don't want to do it again. I want to do something different.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. I always want it's not engaging me.
Can you imagine then how much of an issue I'd have with that?
Well, maybe.
What do you mean maybe? You look at the things I knit.
Yeah, I know.
I've only just been saying about the sleeves and about how utterly bored I am.
I would rather knit this than a sleeve.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
So each to their own, isn't it? At the end of the day, each to their own, and I think a lot of people would love this, and conversely, depending on what sort of knitter you are, you might find it a little bit repetitive. But I'm persevering because I think the finished thing is so beautiful and it's going to be gorgeous. I'm now on to section 6. I was on section 4 when I last showed it to you, so I've got through, I think I was kind of down here, so I've knit through all of this, which I think is pretty good going. And I'm now going to start decreasing in the next section. It feels like I'm getting there, because I've done all of my increases. You stop increasing. Oh gosh, I've just lost my stitches.
Oh no.
It's all right. They were slipped anyway. Those. you stop increasing. You can see I stopped increasing way down here, and this is just a straight edge, and then you carry on increasing on the other side, so it's like a big long slope. But now I'm going to start decreasing on one side, I don't know which. So I've got section 6, section 7, and then the bind off. So every time I pick it up, I'm trying to get through a section, which is 40 rows, I believe. In this case was this much from the colour change. You can see from where it changed colour here up to here is kind of the section. So let's see really how much longer it takes me. The 3 skeins of hand spun I'm using are from this one's fondant fibre from Deb. This one's from Xena, which was a fondant fibre. And then this one is from lovely Susan Claudino.
And it's epic.
Which is a Rambouillet. It's gorgeous. I'm back to this lovely orange now. And I wouldn't have thought, look, when I first wound this skein, I thought it was going to be predominantly the orange. But actually I've got loads of this pinky, loads of blue and purple. Gorgeous. And then some of the orange is down here. So I'm going back to the orange now, which will be nice. So let's see.
Where's the orange in it? Is it right at the bottom? Wow, that looks so cool.
Yeah, I'm not normally an orange fan.
Absolutely, love that bit.
I quite like that shade of orange. It's a nice.
What
nice
makes
shade.
it even more amazing? If that was on its own, it'd be too much. But because of the bumps there,
yeah.
I mean, it really does just.
And it's all done. It's all done with slip stitches. It's mosaic knitting,
right?
So it's all done with slip stitches. I think it's a beautiful fabric, and I can't wait to have it done. And I will. It's the kind of thing I will wear all the time.
Me too.
It knits. It looks like that. Look, I'm just.
It's big, isn't it? Actually,
It
goodness
is quite
me.
big. I don't know where I'm up to on kind of this picture. I've not got a clue. I kind of don't want to see how far I've got to go still. I'm just trying to power through. Come on, I can do it. So there we go. That's my cowl, and hopefully at some point in the future I will finish it.
It's gorgeous, and I will be stealing it.
You will not.
I will on
you
regular.
Will not.
How great will that look though on me?
You're not having it.
Just
I'm sorry.
sometimes.
No, I don't know about that.
Maybe once.
No, I don't think so, actually.
Once a month.
No, I never knit anything for myself.
But it could be a shared thing.
We'll talk about it later.
I just, do you know how wonderful to have a fabric which I think that looks ladylike, and also
you could totally wear it.
Yeah.
And you know, if you've knit one that's in more feminine colours, you could just easily, you know, if you wanted to knit it for a man in your life or a man in your family, you could easily just change the colours and it would look brilliant, I think, for a bloke.
And what I love about that is that by taking those colours and putting them in that combination, it's brilliantly unisex.
And I wouldn't have thought it would be, looking at the colours at all.
No. I think that was by accident that you did that.
Yeah.
So I think
it was by accident, yeah.
It would be cruel of you not to let me wear it sometimes.
Really?
I'm going to keep trying to persuade her whilst you head off to watch a pudding club. And this is a very, very special pudding club, as we established at the start of the show, because it's Kay's birthday cake. And for the first time ever, she's making a cake on the pudding club. And we're going to put in one of her Kay is going to put in one of her absolute favourite ingredients.
Love it.
So without further ado, let's head over to the kitchen to create Kay's perfect birthday cake.
Who's ready for some more baking? This season we'll share more of the tastes of our childhood, but with some modern twists we know our mums and grandmas would love. We're going to show you how to make 8 more delicious desserts. And at the end of the season, you can vote for your favourite. Last year, Millionaire's Shortbread was your winner. And we can't wait to see which pudding wins this year. So come and join me in the Bakery Bears Pudding Club. Ladies and gentlemen, this for me is perfection. I'd very much like to introduce you to coconut cake and a gorgeous cup of tea. This is really just a modified Victoria sponge cake, but when you add rich, indulgent coconut cream and you sprinkle over delicious desiccated coconut, it takes everything to a whole new level. So where does Victoria sponge come from? Well, it's this great lady, of course. Queen Victoria and her husband Prince Albert loved cakes, and legend has it that 2 delicious layers of sponge with buttercream and raspberry jam was her favourite. She loved it so much that the chefs at Windsor would be called upon regularly to make Victoria's sponge. The popularity of this delicious cake spread across the country just as afternoon tea was taking the British Empire by storm. It was the Victorians who made tea drinking their own. Afternoon tea was less troublesome than inviting a guest for dinner, but much more inviting than an afternoon visit with no refreshment. So today, you and I will prepare our own afternoon tea with that special coconut twist that I have a feeling Queen Victoria would very much approve of. Enough talk, it's time for action. Let's get baking. Okay, so what we're going to need to bake our delicious coconut cake. So first of all, we're going to need flour, and it's self-raising flour. Just wipe that bit off there so you can see. Self-raising flour, some baking powder, golden caster sugar. Now if you can't find golden caster sugar, just normal caster sugar, just normal white caster sugar is absolutely fine. If you can find the golden, I find it much nicer, it's got much more flavour than the plain white. Icing sugar, I think that might be called confectioner's sugar in other countries, I'm not sure, but icing sugar is the one that basically looks like a powder, so we're going to need some of that. Butter, just whatever your favourite type of butter is. I always use Country Life, that's my personal favourite, and I always use salted, but that's entirely your choice whether you use salted or unsalted. We're then going to need some coconut cream. Oh, yummy. Now if you've not used coconut cream before, if you look in the supermarket, it'll be in the section normally that's sort of the Chinese Asian sort of food section, and then desiccated coconut as well, which is very easy to find in any supermarket. And the last thing is 3 eggs. So let's take a look at our baking notions. So we're just going to need the very kind of basic tools that you would need for making any kind of cake, really. A nice big roomy mixing bowl, some weighing scales. I'm using an electric hand mixer. If you've got one of the standalone ones, that was also absolutely fine, but I like the little handheld mixers. Just some measuring spoons. And then I've got over here are the trays, the tins, I should say, not trays, the tins that I'll be baking the cake in. And these are 20 centimetres in diameter. And I use the ones that are loose bottomed. But I have also buttered and lined them just as an extra security to make sure they'll come out of the tins easily. So 20 centimetre diameter tins. Okay, so let's get baking. Okay, so this cake is super simple. It's my favourite way to make a sponge cake, and it's the all-in-one method. So there's no creaming of the sugar and the butter. You just put everything in together and then get mixing. So I'm going to pop my bowl on the scales. Now, this just reminds me, while I'm doing this, I get quite a few people who live in the States saying that they find it difficult to convert recipes from the US cup measurements into the grams that I always sort of, give you the measurements by. Now, I don't really understand the cup measurements, if I'm honest. It's not something that we use here. And my only solution to people is really, I would say, just get some weighing scales and weigh it out. And I don't know whether that's something that's not possible, but I don't see why it wouldn't be, just to get yourself some kitchen scales and just weigh everything like I'm doing it. And then that way you don't need to think about converting it. So I'm just going to put everything into the bowl, starting with the butter, and I've got 175 grams of butter. Now this butter is lovely and soft. I took it out of the fridge a good few hours ago, and you can see how lovely and soft it is. It really needs to be this soft so that we can cream it really nicely into the sponge mixture. Just make sure I get all of that out. So 175 grams of butter, and then the same amount, 175 grams of self-raising flour. You can sieve this if you want to. I never bother. I'm a sort of least fuss the better, and I never find it causes a problem by not sieving it, but it's up to you really. So 175 grams again. In old-fashioned measurements, we would call this a 6-ounce mixture because everything's 6 ounces. And now the same again, 175 grams of the golden caster sugar. It is really important to be accurate because in my day, cooking lessons, as they were called at school, was called domestic science because it is a science. And when you're baking in particular, not so much in cooking, you know, cooking meals and things, measurements don't matter as much, but when you're baking, your measurements really do matter. So I always try and be as precise as I possibly can. There we go, 175. And now we're going to need a teaspoon of baking powder. Be careful with your baking powder. If you put in too much, because when I say a teaspoon, you know, some people might do that. That to me isn't a teaspoon. That's probably 2 teaspoons. When you say a teaspoon, you want kind of just a flattish teaspoon like that. That to me is a teaspoon. Be careful with it because if you do put in too much baking powder, what tends to happen is your cake will rise up really well in the initial cooking, but then you might find that it slumps down in the middle. If you ever see that when you've baked a sponge cake, it's usually because you've put too much raising agent in. So just remember, we've got raising agent in the flour already. So don't go mad with your baking powder. You just want a nice sort of level teaspoon of baking powder. And then the last thing to go in are the 3 eggs. So we can just take the scales away now. If you ever get a bit of shell in with your egg, I've probably said this before, but if there was a bit of shell in here, if you just use another bit of your shell, it'll scoop out really easily. You'll find that the bit of shell is attracted to the other bit of shell. Okay, and we're now just going to beat all of that together. It's as easy as that. So I'm going to get my beaters in and give it a good old mix. About halfway through the mixing, I'll just go in with a spatula and just sort of wipe it all around just to amalgamate all the outside bits. And then back in just for another couple of minutes. Okay, so there's our sponge mixture, all lovely and mixed. And now we just need to add in what will make it a lovely coconut cake. So we need to just pop our ball back on the scales. And first of all, we want 50 grams of the desiccated coconut. Oh, I absolutely love coconut. 50. And then the coconut cream, we need 2 tablespoons of it. And it's quite a fairly solid substance, coconut cream. Don't put it in, you know, when you first buy it like this. You need to refrigerate it if you've opened it and not used it all. But when you first buy it, you don't need to refrigerate it. If you put it in the fridge, you'll find that it goes fairly solid and it makes it much more difficult to use. So, oh my word, it smells like heaven. It's like, do you know when if you're on a tropical beach, not that I ever would be, sun cream lotion I think quite often smells of coconuts, doesn't it? It makes me think of that. So we want to just dig in and get 2 tablespoons of that and just plop it in. Lovely. And now we're going to go in, we're not going to go back in with the beaters, we're just going to fold that through, fold both of the coconuts through. I just tend to do it with a spatula, I find that the most easy. Well, you might, there's a risk you might beat out some of that air that we've spent some time sort of beating in, because we just want to evenly distribute the coconut cream and the desiccated coconut all the way through. We don't really want to beat it anymore. So just make sure that you can't see any more of that white coconut cream, and by then your desiccated coconut will have worked its way through as well. And you want a kind of soft dropping consistency, as Delia always used to say. So that looks like it's nice and distributed through. And now all we need to do is divide this between our 2 cake tins. I've preheated my oven to 180 degrees fan, and I'm now just going to divide it between the 2. Some people want to be very precise and sort of weigh the mixture as it goes in. I never do that. All I do is I kind of put one blob in one blob in the other, and just keep alternating it like that. It's a homemade cake at the end of the day, so if you end up with one half a bit bigger than the other, it really doesn't matter. That's about even. And if you weren't all here, I might be licking this spatula, but I'm going to be good and add it in. So all we need to do now is just gently coax it out to the sides. Don't mess about with it too much, you know. We don't want to beat out or, you know, knock out any of that air. Just gently push it out to the sides. There we go, and then the same with the other one. So I'm going to pop these in that preheated oven for about 25 minutes. I'm going to keep an eye on them, and then after about 20-25 minutes I'll have a look at them. Don't be tempted to open the oven door if you can help it until, you know, we're almost up to that 25 minutes, because that can cause your cake to drop as well. Just keep an eye on it through the glass if you've got a glass door. And you want it to be risen up, a nice golden colour. And you can either use a skewer if you want to test the centre, or I tend to just sort of, if you touch the top, it'll bounce back when it's ready and be shrinking away from the sides a little bit as well. So about 25, maybe 30 minutes, depends on your oven. So I'm going to pop those in. So the cake's happily in the oven, and that gives us a lovely amount of time now to make the coconut buttercream topping. Okay, to make our lovely coconut buttercream, we're going to need just really 3 ingredients. It's brilliant. I've got in my bowl, I've got 100 grams of really soft butter. So I'm going to pop that on the scales. To the butter, I'm going to add in 280 grams of icing sugar. Icing sugar has a tendency to go everywhere, so hold it kind of low over the bowl if you don't want to get clouds of icing sugar. So 280 grams. And then as the cloud of icing sugar settles, we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of our coconut cream, which I think will be about the entire contents of the rest of this. This is 250 mils altogether, and we'll pretty much use all of it, I think. So now we're just going to beat those together, but something I've learned from making buttercream over the years, if you stick your electric beater straight into that, it will go everywhere. You'll be cleaning it up forever. What I tend to do is I just go in with the spoon and I just get it going. So just mix the icing sugar into your butter and your cream until you've not got this kind of avalanche of icing sugar. Just keep going. It only takes a minute, but it will just stop it going absolutely everywhere in your kitchen. You can see now we are almost, all of that is almost amalgamated in, and then we can get in with the beaters. If you find your mixture's a bit sloppy, and this is looking a little bit sloppy for me at the moment, you can just add in a bit more icing sugar. Okay, so now I'm just going to go in with my beaters and just beat and beat and beat. And the thing with buttercream is you can't overbeat it. It's not like a sponge mixture. You can just carry on beating this, and you want it to turn almost white. It will look. The more you beat it, the lighter in colour it will become. And it'll be more fluffy. It'll be the lightest, fluffiest buttercream you've ever had. So just beat and beat and beat. Probably a good 5 minutes, I would say. Lovely. So there we go. You can see how lovely and pale in colour that is. And I've just had a little sneaky taste, and it's delicious. It's sweet, but it's very coconutty. Just lovely. And you want it to be, can you see kind of the consistency? It's moving, but only just slightly. So that's now all ready for our cake. So come back in part 2 when we'll be taking the cake out of the oven. I'm gonna let it cool for a little bit, and then we're gonna sandwich everything together, and then we're gonna eat it. So we'll see you back soon.
So the cake is in the oven, and the buttercream, the coconut buttercream, that's what is the transformative thing.
It's yummy.
Well, I do think actually the coconut cream in the cake,
yeah,
it just changes it to something with more texture and...
Yeah, it's richer, and you obviously put desiccated coconut in the sponge as well.
It is though.
Oh, it's so nice.
It's the coconut cream in the filling, in the icing.
In the buttercream.
Yeah, in the buttercream, which just... It stops... Do you know what? I don't know why, but it makes it feel less rich.
It's not quite as sugary sweet, I don't think, as buttercream can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just makes... Oh, it's delicious.
It's so nice. I love... Oh, my goodness, I love coconut so much. I love fresh coconut. I love desiccated coconut. I like it in any shape or form. I love it.
And
it's so nice.
In the second part, one of my favourite bits of this pudding club is when Kay puts it together. It's the coolest thing ever.
Why?
Because you've got like two halves of cake in either hand, and you just want to go...
Yeah, you do, yeah.
You just want to just put it in my mouth, because I just want to eat it.
Just want to eat it.
It's delicious.
It is delicious.
Now, folks, please do remember that nothing that you see here, none of our new adventures, none of our pudding club, the show as a whole would not be possible without the Bakery Bears patrons.
Absolutely.
So if you want to find out how you can empower us to keep doing what we do and do even bigger and better and greater puddings and more totally crazy adventures, then have a look above. Then follow the link below. You can find out all about it. And soon you could be helping us do more.
Yes.
Now, it's time for us to find out. Oh, and it is. Do you know what? We should build up to it, shouldn't we? How many things do you have off your needles?
I've got 2, you've got 1.
And is one of your 2 the Burrow Wrap?
Yes.
Excellent. So we will start with you.
Okay.
We will build up to the Burrow Wrap.
Yes.
So we'll start off by saying, Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
Oh, that was a very low key.
It was good, wasn't it?
What's off your needles?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a small item that I finished, and we will work up to the big one. So I finished the little mitts that I was making. Do you know that I spoke about last time? The little scrappy mitts. And I love them. I'll put one of them on. They don't have thumbs. It doesn't have a thumb opening. It's just a solid little mitt. Just for when I'm out walking, and I think it's a great little thing.
Yeah.
And what I've decided to do with this is, I thought, well, I could add just effectively what would be like a buttonhole, just a slot for your thumb to go through, and then it turns them into fingerless mitts then, doesn't it? What I discovered was that the pair together, they weigh 40 grams, so they're 20 grams each. So I thought, well, we can absolutely just use 2 precious sort of mini skeins that you might have in your stash, and you can make yourself a lovely pair of fingerless mitts. So I'm going to knit up another pair with 2 mini skeins. I'm going to put in like a thumb opening and turn them into little fingerless mitts, and I'll do a little tutorial series for them. I enjoyed it so much knitting these, so I chose 2 minis from my precious beautiful pile of minis back there that I thought went really lovely together. Oh, I love these 2 because in this peachy one you've got some of the purple, and in this purple one you've got some of the peach. So I think they will just look gorgeous together. And these are from Kelly, Lay Family Yarns. I think it was from her Branches and Buds collection. And they weigh exactly 20 grams each. So I will work a pair of mitts, and the way that we'll make them work with 2 minis is that one of them, the cuffs of this one and the body of this one will be in one yarn, and then the opposite to make them, to be able to do it with 2 minis. The one thing that I wasn't happy with this was the issue. One of my main issues with knitting toe-up socks, and why I don't really like knitting toe-up socks, is because I don't like the bind-offs. Initially with this one, this was the first one I bound off, I used Jenny's Extra Stretchy. I can't remember what it's called. Jenny's super stretchy. You know which one I mean, the bind off I mean.
Not Tilly Buddies.
No, it's not Tilly Buddies. It's Jenny. She's called Jenny.
All right.
Super stretchy bind off or something like that.
Okay.
Everybody knows which one it is. I didn't particularly like it. It looked fine, but the problem I was having is it looked nothing like the long tail cast on. And normally with a sock, you're obviously not comparing it to something else. Totally fine for that. But because I got the long tail cast on here, it just looks so different, and I didn't like that. I pulled it out, and I just, in the end, just did a standard knitted bind off with this one. Do you know where you just knit two and then pass the first one over, knit another one, pass it over? Because I didn't need it particularly stretchy because it's not going over a heel or anything, it's just going onto your arm. And at first I thought that'll be fine. And it looks okay. I haven't blocked these on purpose because I wanted you to see what it looked like freshly knit. It looks okay. I don't love it, and it certainly doesn't look like the long tail, does it? Looks nothing like, and it flares out a little bit. I was like, oh no, don't like that. Let's think about it with the second mitt. So this was the cast on of the second one, and this is Cascade Heritage. I used Cascade Heritage for all of the cuffs because I thought that would be a nice little feature to have Cascade Heritage. And then these two yarns I dyed. This is Fairy Garden, and this is an unnamed one that I just dyed up one time. It's a bit like the one that I did for Hedwig, but with the background sort of taupey colour. And then this one is Sherry Iris, and I think that's gorgeous. So when I got to the binding off for this one, I thought, let's have a look around. And I did ask on Instagram, put up a post and said, does anybody know of a bind off that looks like a long tail cast on? And I got a few suggestions. The Jenny's stretchy one and a sewn bind off, and I went and looked at all these in various books and online, and just to see what they looked like, and some of them I'd done already, so some of them I knew didn't really look like a long tail cast off. But then I looked in this book. Can you see this book here? I won't get it out because it's massive. It's The Principles of Knitting by June Hemmons Hyatt. I think everybody knows this book. It's like a Bible. I looked in there, and in there I found a bind off called the Half Hitch bind off. Now I don't know whether it's called something else now, because I think it was written quite a while ago, that book. But basically, to me, it looks exactly like a long tail cast on, and you actually need a long tail to do it. So that again, it was like you were doing it in reverse. So if I show you both of the cuffs together, so the pink one is a long tail cast on, and this one, the yellow one, is the bind off. And I don't think I could get closer. And it's perfectly stretchy enough for a sock. If this was a sock, I think that's perfectly stretchy enough. I just think it looks so much neater. Look how neat that looks. I think it's brilliant. So that just made me love this project even more. So that's definitely what I'm going to do. I'll get a little tutorial series done.
Cool.
I think they're great. And look, how nice when you're out walking, and then you can just pull them back and just have really cosy wrists. Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's off your needles?
It's my second clay court hat, and
We blocked it,
and I'm really glad that we've done this, because at every stage you're learning more and more, and what is evident is the adjustments. Well, it's not adjustments, the way that I naturally knit colour work, and this I suppose is exactly right, given the fact that you have to just be a bit more relaxed with colour work, because that was my problem when I started. I wasn't, and let's go look at the split back snowflake hat.
Yes.
So you have to make adjustment. It's not adjustments. It's not like you're just learning, aren't you?
Yeah, just learning.
You're learning how you need to approach things. It's evident that my gauge is much looser on colour work. So I have cast on another one of these, and I've cast on 16 less stitches.
It's a size smaller, isn't it? Is it one size or two sizes?
One
size,
I think.
yeah.
No, it might be two.
It might be two, actually, with that.
Yeah.
But I think that would be right.
Yeah, because this is just way too big.
It'll fit your head. Stick it on your head.
Okay. It'll still well, it's just a bit too long.
But I think it's fine, actually. You could wear that in winter.
Well, yeah, I could, so maybe I'll have this.
Yeah, I think you should have it. It looks nice on you.
Is this the one I knit for Bryony?
Yeah. That's going to be too big for Bryony now.
Well, let her try it on again anyway.
Well, I will, but...
And now I'm knitting another one. So I've cast on another one. I've made some adjustments. Learning that is going to transform all my future colour work projects. Because now knowing that, you know, I am bigger when it comes to colour work, I'll know to notch...
Looser, you mean?
Yeah, well, it's a bigger product once I've finished. I need to notch down a size or two. And, you know, it's really, really good to know.
But I think your colour work looks really good, I think.
Yes, yeah. I think
your colour work looks really good.
It does, you know... There's definitely an issue with yarn dominance, but I have a plan to rectify that yarn dominance. And I spoke about this at length in the Return to the Centre of the Yoke show yesterday. So I'm going to, you know, put that plan into action, and hopefully what you'll see on my new clay quilt hat, which I'll show you next time, will be a more even fabric around really important band.
Yeah.
Because, you know, what I want to make sure is that when it's in the top of the cardigan, it's not pulling. I want it to sit nicely.
You don't want to see that huge yarn dominance like that, do you? You'd rather have it so it looks a more even.
The biggest problem for me is it does... I mean, it's not too bad on there. I think, though, if the size was right, you would see it more. You can feel there's more pull here than there is here.
Well, there always will be, though. There always will be with colour work, because you've got the strands running on the back.
I suppose.
All you're wanting to do is get attention so that it's not puckering, you know, in terms of how your fabric is, and yours isn't. So I don't think it's your tension. I think all this is just the yarn dominance thing. It's holding your yarn in the same position all the time. So I think you're going to try the Arnie and Carlos approach, aren't you? Is that what you're going to do? Where you vary which yarn is on top.
Is that an Arnie and Carlos approach?
Yeah.
I thought they said that yarn dominance didn't exist, though.
No. They're not saying it doesn't exist.
Right.
What they're saying is
it doesn't matter.
That you shouldn't. It shouldn't matter whether your yarn is held on the bottom or the top.
Right.
So do you know how normally I think with a lot of things that you read and a lot of things that you see online, when you work in colour work, it always says to either, if you're doing it two-handed, keep one in that hand and one in that hand and maintain that, or if you're working it in the same hand, then one yarn stays on the bottom, one yarn stays on the top.
Well, that's what I've been doing.
And that's what causes yarn dominance.
Yes, that's what I've been doing.
Because one is tighter than the other. You know, naturally, the way that you work, one will be tighter than the other. What Arnie and Carlos say is that it doesn't matter. You know, if you've got 3 stitches where that one's on the bottom and then 2 stitches where that one's on top, it doesn't matter. That's what they're saying, as I understand it.
Yeah. Well, what I feel is that by alternating the position of the yarn on each stitch, that surely is going to give you a more even.
Yeah, well, in theory, I think that might be.
So we'll try that and we'll see if it works.
We shall see.
What else was off your needles 5 months ago?
Well, my goodness, it feels so strange showing this now. It just feels so weird. This is that's the mini one I'm going to show in a minute.
All right.
That was my practice one that I did way back when in November. So yeah, this is the Burrow Wrap, first pattern in the Swish and Flick collective. And this design was inspired by the first book, the first Harry Potter book, and in particular, I took my inspiration from when the children get on the train for the first time, and they're seen onto the train by their parents or relatives or whatever. And it was that scene, and I just thought that at that point when they're just getting on the train, that, you know, it might be nice if someone suddenly just wraps something around their neck as a little reminder of home and something to keep them warm when they're in the freezing cold castle in the winter. That was kind of where my inspiration came from, and then I took it one step further, and I based the kind of yarns that I used and the number of different colours on the members of the family of one of the particular magical families, if you like, how many people there were in that family. So I will show you the wrap and then I'll talk about it. It is rather large. So I'll hold up kind of the middle bit. So here we go. I don't know what you can see Hopefully you can see something in the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah.
And it goes all the way along here. And this is one end with all this wonderful fringe. And then it goes all the way along to the other end with some more fabulous fringe. So the way that this is knit, you first of all work this central panel, the big sort of panel in the middle. You've got I-cord. Let me just sort of try and show you one little bit and then it'll be a bit more obvious. Can you see how you've got an I-cord here running up the whole length, and there's one on the other side as well? And then when you finish that central panel, you then go back and you pick up and you work these edges, which have got beautiful picots all the way along. And then you finish with the fringe. So you've just got some simple eyelets separating each of the different yarns, and there are 9 colours of yarn that are used in it. That number, like I said, came from the number of people in the particular family where I took inspiration from. So 1 for each of the members of the family. Now the yarns that I used, it's so incredibly large that, but I wanted it to be, if I hold it up, look, oh, it's just so lovely. I wanted it to be this kind of, just this hug, you put it on and it's like a hug from home. This person's knit this for you. You're going away to wizard school and you're going to have this in your dormitory, and when it's really chilly or when you get a bit homesick at night, you can wrap it around you and it'll just give you that comfort. And I just thought that was just such a lovely thing to have. And you can custom knit it to your own family. You can choose colours that reflect your own family, or you can just choose colours that happen to be your favourite. If you particularly love blue, for example, you might use all shades of blue, or you might want to do it more neutral and use sort of all shades of creams and pale greys, and that would be beautiful. I wanted it to be something where you can play with colours yourself and just really customise it to something that you personally might knit for, if it was your son or daughter going off to school, something you might knit for them. So it's fingering weight, and I've held it double with a mohair silk lace weight. So the 2 yarns I used were, the fingering weight I used is Koigu, and it's the KPPPM. I have to get the number of P's right because I always get that wrong. This is a skein I didn't use in the end, but it's that yarn, and I used 9 of these 50-gram skeins. So there's just 50 grams in here, and you will have a little bit left over from each to put into your blankets and such. And I just love Koigu. And this one is a beautiful colour. The only reason I didn't use this is there was another colour that I used that was very similar, so I didn't use this one. And then I held it double with just Rowan Kid Silk Haze, and this is just the cream colour. Although I used Koigu, you don't have to use Koigu. I wanted to design this so that it's a piece that you can actually knit from stash. Because you don't need a full 100-gram skein, it's just 50 grams of each colour, then it's likely, I know certainly I have in my stash loads of like half balls or 60-gram balls of fingering weight yarn where I've used something in a hat, for example, or I've knit a pair of socks that might have had contrast heels and toes, so it's left me with like a good 50 grams of fingering weight yarn. And I wanted people to just be able to go into the stash to pull out these sort of partial skeins that they've not used, that might have been a precious yarn, that you really loved, and you've still got that good chunk left, and pair them all together so that you get a lovely blend of colours, or however you want it. And then you just need some mohair yarn to put with it. This one, the Rowan one, it's not the cheapest yarn in the world, but it's also not the most expensive. You could go for a hand-dyed mohair yarn, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to make it so that I didn't want to use yarns that priced it out of the range for a lot of people. I wanted to use yarns that were more kind of accessible, and also that you might have everything in stash. You know, if you do have quite a stash of mohair, it might be that you've got everything in stash that you need, and that would be a brilliant thing if people did have. But if you wanted to buy something like this, but you needed it to be more economical, I know Knit Picks do one that's very good, and also Sheepy's Mohair Rhythm is also an excellent one. And I love knitting this. And before I knit the big main wrap, I did a little test. I did a little tester, look. And this I just used scraps of, you know, leftover fingering weight, and I was tempted, and this is how it kind of might look with hand-dyed if you went into your stash. You can see I was trying out different edging. This is the one I went for with the picot. I did one that had more picots on the other side, and I found this a bit fussy, so I went with this picot in the end. But this was my little trial scarf, and I knit this in like a day, I think. I was just so excited and so enthused, and when I saw this and I just imagined it as this huge finished wrap, oh, I just absolutely loved it. And I love knitting it. It's garter stitch, you know, so basically you've got garter stitch, you've got eyelets, you've got I-cord, and you've got picot. All of my favourite things, really. There's also some video tutorials.
3, isn't there?
There's 3 video tutorials in the pattern, just to show you particular techniques. So yeah, there's 3 tutorials in there as well, just to help you with the bits that you might not have done before. So there we go.
Cool.
That's the Burrow Wrap, and I'm absolutely thrilled with it. And I really hope, all of my test knitters told me that they really enjoyed knitting it. The yarns that everybody used were really varied, and that was great as well, just to see so much variation. If you look on the projects on Ravelry, hopefully some of those test knitters will have added their projects.
Or they'll appear, won't they?
Yeah, they'll appear, and you'll be able to see them, and just beautiful. So I'm really thrilled, and I really hope you enjoy knitting your Burrow Wraps.
So that's available right now, isn't it?
Right now.
Yes.
Pattern came out today.
Woohoo.
Yes.
Cool. Folks, I need a rest.
I need a rest.
And I need some cake.
Yes.
So let's head back to the kitchen to get our 2 pieces of cake and bury them in our face.
Welcome back to part 2 of Pudding Club. Now let's get those cakes out of the oven. So you can see how they're nicely risen, they've shrunk away from the sides, and it's bouncing back nicely when I just touch the top. So I'm going to let them cool in the tins just for a few minutes, and then I will take them out of the tins and put the sponges on a wire rack and let them go completely cold. Okay, so our cakes are lovely and cooled now, and we are ready to build the whole thing. Let's put it all together, and then I want to taste it. Okay, so we've got our 2 cooled sponges now, and what we're going to do is on one half we're going to put the buttercream, and on the other half we're going to put some raspberry jam. Now the raspberry jam that is our favourite is the Bon Maman, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's really fruity, it's really thick, and this is the only raspberry jam we ever buy now, if I'm honest, and we've tried lots. So if you can get this one, I would really recommend it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a couple of spoons and just spread it. I'm going to put it onto this half actually, because that one I'm going to put the buttercream on. It doesn't matter which half you put on which, to be honest. I'm just going to put on a couple of spoons and then see where that gets us. You can be as generous or not as you want with the jam, really. It's entirely up to you. Make sure it goes right up to the edges, because I really like it when you get a bit of jam sort of squidging out at the sides. And that's probably enough actually. I did 2 tablespoons there, but you put as little or as much on as you want, really. And then on the other half we're going to put the buttercream. So I'm just going to blob on some buttercream. There seems to be a lot of buttercream here, so if you don't use it all, spread it on a sandwich. No, just put it in the fridge and it will last for a few days. So if you could make some little muffins, couldn't you? Or not muffins, some little fairy cakes, and put it on the top of that. Or you could be really indulgent and just have it incredibly thick on your cake. I will put a bit more on actually. So again, just push it till it's almost to the edges, because I do like a bit of squidge coming out of the edges. Put a bit more in the middle. So now I'm going to put the jam on top of the other one. That's why I did it this way around, because I thought putting the jam onto here would be easier than putting the buttercream onto the jammed section. So I'm just going to put one hand under there. I think actually I'm going to lift it up. That's what I'm going to do. And just plop them together. There we go. You might get a bit of slidage of the jam, but just give it a bit of a wiggle like that. And then you can see we've got it coming out at the edges. That's just how I like to see it. Ooh, oozing, delicious. And then I'm going to put some more buttercream on top. And for this actually I'm going to use a spatula, because I just find that a bit easier to negotiate. And again, it's up to you really how much you put on, right to the edges. Perfect. Oh, we've got lots of jam oozage down the side, which is very nice. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just to sprinkle some of the desiccated coconut just on top. A nice last little flourish, so you can tell when you look at it that it's a coconut cake. Okay, so we've got the perfect cake. You know what we need? We need a lovely cup of tea. Okay, the kettle's on. Can you hear it? It's just almost boiled, so I'm going to make what I do when I make a lovely pot of tea just for myself. Normally I just have a tea bag in a mug. We're going all out this time, and I've got out my little teapot. So kettle's just boiled. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of boiling water into the teapot, swirl it around just to heat the teapot up. It shouldn't be cold, it should be a nice warm teapot. And then just pour that out. And now into the hot teapot, I'm putting 2 tea bags. This is a small teapot, but you would get 2 cups out of it, so I'm putting 1 tea bag per person, and then your just boiled water straight in. You can use loose leaf tea if you want to. I generally use tea bags these days just because it's easier. Lid on, and then if you've got a tea cosy, pop it on, and I would give it 5 minutes. I like strong tea. I like, builder's tea as we would call it. If you're not keen on strong tea, if you're just using a small teapot like this, you could just put 1 tea bag in and let it brew for less time. But I'm going to give it 5 minutes. We're ready to try it. We've got a cup of tea, we've got cake. What could be better? So let's give it a try. It looks good. I'm excited. It's so nice. It's like the best coconut and raspberry cake I've ever had. I do buy coconut and raspberry cakes quite often from Marks and Spencer's. They do one that's really good. It's like in the shape of a loaf, and it has like raspberry jam running through the middle and coconut sort of cream on top with sprinkled coconut, and that's really good. But this is like on a next level. It's like anything, isn't it? If you make it yourself, it's just so much nicer. It's so much fresher and just delicious. The sponge is nice and light. It's really coconutty. The raspberry jam is just the perfect thing with coconut. Don't be tempted to use any other flavour of jam. Raspberry is the sort of absolutely best thing to complement the coconut. So it's fabulous. I love it. I'm going to eat the whole slice, and then I'm going to have another slice this afternoon. It's fantastic. So there we go. Go and make your coconut cakes. Let us know what you think, and we will see you back next time for more pudding fun.
folks, go make it right now and eat it. Eat it all, because it's amazing. Genuinely, look, first cake she'd ever done on Pudding Club, because we established in season 1 that puddings became the word for all sweet things, thanks to Winifred Pudding and the doctor fella who invented it. I can't remember who he was now, but we covered all that in the Winifred Pudding episode, which I'll link in the show notes below, and also it's right there for you too. So seriously, it's just the best birthday cake ever. It's that perfect thing to take something that is run-of-the-mill and transform it into something indulgent and exciting.
It's so nice, and even Bryony ate some.
Yes, she approved.
She was very dubious. She went, I don't know if I like coconut. I said, you do like coconut, you've had it before. All right, I'll try it, and she loved it.
You can find all our baking videos, absolutely everything that we've ever done on baking, on the special page which we have on our website, which I'll also link below for you too. But that is enough baking for an episode, because next time, yes, we will be back out.
Yes.
For another new adventure.
Yeah.
And it's a real. I got so excited about a future one. I was talking to Kay about swapping around the order, but actually, I then got even more excited about the next one that we're doing. So don't miss it, because it's such a wonderful place, and there's so much to see. So that's back for episode 127. But now it's time, would you believe it, for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
So the Swish and Flick Collective is now live with the Knit Along.
The Knit Along, oh my goodness, so many fabulous people have contributed to that thread. So I mean, go and have a look. It's just been so fun to see people's Choose Your House socks, and now, obviously I can't wait to see what people will be knitting their Burrow Wrap with, the yarns that they decide to use, and the colour combinations. It's just so exciting, and it's such a lovely, friendly place to be as well. Everybody's talking to each other, and I think that's just brilliant. So I will be drawing for the first prize when the next pattern comes out. So when pattern 2 comes out, I'll be drawing for the first prize, which effectively is like that period that was for pattern 1. So that'll be super exciting. It's one of the lovely skeins that I dyed up that I showed you last time will be the prize.
Amazing. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Great Pyramid Cowl for patrons is ongoing, and also the Great Pyramid Run/Walk for everyone is ongoing, and you can find out all about that in the show notes below. And we're obviously talking about walking earlier. If you are now inspired to walk and you want to come and join the team, then please do get in touch, because we are powering our way around the world
We are.
as the knitters build the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Yes.
It's very exciting. Now, you have some things to show?
I bought a couple of things. Been back into Kelly's shop again. I just can't resist her yarn. I just think it's so pretty. And I saw this sock set, and I just thought, it's just gorgeous. It's called Shepherd's Delight, and it's in her 75/25. Oh, it's just gorgeous, look. So you've got this kind of purpley speckle in here with some sort of chestnut and brown colours as well. I really love Kelly's yarn for designing sock patterns in particular, because I know it will knit up and just show off designs so beautifully. So I couldn't resist this one. I think it's just gorgeous. So there's that, and then I also got another set of her minis. I bought this one, which was the pastel set before, and now I've got the earth tones, because I've got a hankering to sort of combine these two in a design of some sort. I don't know what or when, but I just thought it would just be nice to combine the pastels with the sort of more earthy tones. So I couldn't resist those. They're just, it's like sweets, isn't it? It's like being in a sweet factory. I just love them.
And it's interesting that you mentioned minis, because Kay's just completed a two-part review series where she took 3 different minis and compared them side by side. And I know a lot of you guys have really been enjoying that. So if you haven't seen it,
it's really interesting.
Link it in the show notes below, and you can head over and watch that review.
Yeah. And then the last thing I've got is, this was actually a gift from someone, very out of the blue. Absolutely no reason to send me a gift, it was so nice. And she sent 2 things actually, and I'll just show you this one next time. I'll maybe show you the other. I'll show you this one this time, I'll show you the other one next time. And I couldn't believe it when I opened this. But she sent me a skein of Spin Cycle yarns.
Wow.
And, this is something I spoke about this yarn before.
That looks so cool. That is reminding me of...
I know, it's very cool.
That yarn, that Knit Natural scent.
Yes.
That I knit up, the Kessel Run.
It does look like that, yeah. This particular colour is Mississippi Marsala. I love that name. It's just gorgeous. And you get 150 yards. It says it's a worsted weight. Looks a bit thinner to me than a worsted weight, to be honest, but maybe it plumps up. Just sent it me out of the blue, and gosh, I was just absolutely blown away, because I would never buy this because it's a really expensive yarn, and I've commented on that before, because this is the yarn that Andrea Mowry used for the Shift cowl, and looking at it now, I know it would be amazing done in this yarn.
Yeah.
Just be absolutely beautiful. But it's expensive. It's a dear do, as my mum would say. But just to have a skein of it, and 150 yards is perfect for either a hat, or what I think I will do actually is a pair of fingerless mitts. I think I'd rather have it on my hands where I can see it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where I can look at it and see it. It's beautifully soft. It just says it's American wool, so I'm not sure what breed it is, but it's beautifully soft and it's just gorgeous. So if now that I've seen it, I'm kind of thinking, oh gosh, I would actually love to do something in this now, with more of it. It's just lovely. So I can't wait to knit that up.
We've neglected somebody.
Have we?
Yes. Have you finished?
Yes.
We've neglected Clementine.
Oh!
Because, of course, along with the first official pattern in the Swish and Flick Collective, there is the next instalment of Clementine's story.
Yes.
So I hope you enjoy that as much as you enjoyed the first part. Which now each part is very much separate. So the Choose Your House socks now, of course, are no longer available.
No.
They are gone.
No.
But don't fret. If you are coming into the Swish and Flick Collective now, you're not going to be missing anything by not reading that first. Don't think, I'm going to be...
Well, you can read that first part.
Of course you can. I read it out.
Dan read it out, and it's on the pattern
I'm such an
page.
idiot.
Yeah, so you can read that first part.
Oh,
but the other
what
parts...
What a silly Billy.
Yeah, I mean, the other parts from now on are part of the patterns, if you like. So you will read each part as you actually get each pattern and knit through each pattern. And then we've had such amazing feedback about Clementine's story.
Yes.
It's just been fantastic, and
it really has,
just really lovely. So thank you so much to everybody that's commented and said how much they enjoyed that and are looking forward to reading the next part. And we do have some plans around Clementine's story.
Yes.
Some little secret plans. So we'll let you know about that later
on in the year.
Later in the year. But we do, because of the feedback that we've had and just how much positivity was around it, we've thought of something that might be fun to do. So
very fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you might like it. But there's too much to look forward to right now with this amazing Swish and Flick Collective.
Yeah.
And of course, 7 wonderful instalments from Clementine along with that.
Yeah.
And it's not just 3 tutorials with this one. There are other tutorials scattered throughout the series.
Yeah. Whenever
You never mentioned that, actually,
no,
on the launch of Swish and
think
Flick.
I did mention that, no. And, like I said, there's 3 video tutorials with the Burrow Wrap. There are some other tutorials in some of the other patterns.
Whenever you felt it necessary, we've shot something special.
Whenever it's a particular technique that somebody might not have done before, I've put in a video tutorial, because then it takes away that worry that, oh gosh, I've got to go trawling through YouTube or whatever to find out how to do it. So they are scattered throughout the collection.
Cool. Folks, that's it. Thank you so much for watching what has been a bumper episode 126. We will be back in 2 weeks with episode 127 and more new adventures. Yeah. In between then and now, there are some cracking tutorials coming up. Actually, there's a brilliant one about avoiding the jog in circular knitting, and there's 3 needle bind, and there's all sorts have been coming out over the course of I think some might be coming out, some are due to come out, so loads going on. So
there's one other thing I wanted to say about
go on.
Swish and Flick, actually. There's just one other thing I want to say, and what I did with the Burrow Wrap is, a week before it came out, I actually put up the pattern page on Ravelry. I didn't put the name and I didn't put any photos of the wrap, but what I did do is I put I detailed in the sort of notes the yarn requirements because I'd had a lot of people asking me that. So I'm going to do that with all of the designs. So a week before they all come out, I'll put up the pattern page with the yarn requirements so that if you want to go stash diving or or whatever, then you can do that. So all you need to do is go onto the ebook and you'll see the designs. The Burrow Wrap, before it came out, it just said Swish and Flick Collective Pattern 1. So they will follow in that sequence.
Cool.
Yeah.
Folks, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in 2 weeks for more.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Sitting and knitting, Stan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Stan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your